We did it. We made it to the end of 2024, and at least I hope we did, because I guess there's a couple days left. Either way, I'm still here, and you're still here because you're watching this video. So let's talk a little bit about this year. So this video is going to be the 5 worst things that I think happened in North American esports, or LCS. I can't even just say LCS anymore, which we'll talk about this year. And then after this video, I'm going to release another video like the day after, 2 days after. It's like the 5 best things, so that we end the year on a good note. This video will get probably 3 times as many views as the good thing, because people engage with negative stuff, but there were good things. So as I go through this, just remember that there are good things and that they're coming. You can go watch that video if it's out already, if this video's been out for a little bit. Also, there's no sponsor for this video. Maybe that's a bad thing for 2024. There's no sponsor for this video. So please check out the links below if you want to gift yourself a little Christmas present or holiday present. You know, we're non-denominational here. That's we observe all holidays here and all faiths and religions, and even people who don't. Anyway, you can get a membership to the channel, and you can watch videos that I have that are members only, and they're all they're not like that type of members only. They're all right. So the 5 worst things. Actually, before we get to the 5 worst things, I have some dishonorable mentions, because I listed everything out and put these in here. And you know, a lot of people say honorable mentions, but I thought for like a worst thing, it should be a dishonorable mention. All right, not in the top 5, but still bad and worth talking about. JoJo Leaving. That's right, JoJo. I know there's some people who watched a video and listened to some C9 propaganda and think that he's like the worst person in the world now. But JoJo is one of the best players that has ever been born in North America to play League of Legends. And he had many years, several years, a couple years of us all investing into him as a player and getting excited about him and seeing him make great plays and hearing him trash talk other teams. And now he's gone, and we lost him to those dirty Europeans. They always, you know, they're like, after all these years of you taking our people, we're taking your person, and it's just unfortunate to see him leave. And I think there's a ton of factors that led to this, and I'm sure Riot will be like, well, that's JoJo's decision. And it's like, yeah, it's JoJo's decision, but also the scene has less than half the teams that it used to have in it, and there's just a lot less opportunity. And yeah, I think it's a bad thing. Also on this list is single round robin best of 3. I warned you all. I walked through a dirty alleyway, speaking of dirt, and told you all that best of 3s were a scam. And while I do think there are some good things that came out of best of 3s or whatever, I warned you that they were a scam specifically because you would get single round robin. And a bunch of people said, nah, that would never happen. And then it happened. And then people were bummed that we only had a single round robin for best of 3 in the summer. But I would say that that is a dishonorable mention, even though I warned you. Also, for dishonorable mentions, I know this is controversial. A lot of people are going to be unhappy with me about saying it, but like EWC, like I did a whole video on how I was really disappointed that we were doing this. Then we did it. I know it's more of a global thing, but North America took part in it. And I don't, you know, I'm not trying to say that the players or the team suck or whatever that did it, but I really wish we hadn't done that. And I feel like it just opens the gateway for us to do stuff like that again as that whole group comes in to take over esports. The final thing I have on dishonorable mentions is NRG leaving. Hey, remember when NRG came in and they won summer finals and then they did really well at Worlds? And we're like, oh, cool, NRG came in and they replaced CLG, and people had been down on CLG for a while, and like NRG is a cool org and they're committed, and then they're like, we're gonna take the bag and leave after a year. It's just like they, you know, I used to talk about boomeranging players. Like now we're at a point where orgs just boomerang in and out in, I think, an 18-month period, maybe less than that. Actually just crazy. All right, so now to get to the top 5 of the worst things that happened in North American esports this year, mostly focusing, by the way, on like Riot and the league. So if a player did something that was unfortunate but it had nothing to do with Riot and the league, then like I didn't necessarily put it on there. So this is mostly focused on the LCS specifically and Riot decisions and all that type of stuff. Number 5, I have the LCS storage closet. Aptly named by one of the pros as the storage closet. I think it was Zazel who said it, right? either way, it was interesting to see the teams all get crammed in there, and I think is a pretty good illustration of where the league has gone. I mean, for context, that space that they had people playing in is not too dissimilar from the space that they had people playing in season 3 before we had a live audience, which is funny because that old location is actually right around the one block over from where the LCS studio is now. So it felt very reminiscent to me of 2013, and it's just like a bummer. You know, we got out of COVID where we didn't have an audience, and we're like, oh, we're gonna be back in the arena, and then 1 year later we're like, and by arena we mean sometimes whenever we're not just giving it to Valorant, and Valorant never gave us the main stage if they could be there, and a bunch of people were like, yeah, that's because Valorant's cooler. No, actually it's not cooler. League is bigger. It's just globally bigger. You know, like I think if you look at Americas compared to their Americas, we're probably bigger. So I don't know, fuck Valorant. But they're in there sometimes next year based off of what it seems like Riot was tweeting about their schedule for next year. So, haha. All right, number 4. I picked no LCS Finals and then an LCS Final in LA. So no road show. I'm sure Riot would argue that the LA Finals were a road show because we drove down the road to get to them. But I similar to the COVID thing and the storage closet thing, we got out of COVID. We did a couple really cool LCS road shows. I was really excited for that. I think there's so many people that have gone to one of those things and then became a fan of the sport or deep in their fandom. And then we just did a finals in the arena. And then we did a finals in an arena down the street. And while I really did like the LA finals and I had a good time and I thought that venue was pretty neat, it was just really disappointed that the LCS stayed within a, 10-mile radius for this entire year. And I was pretty disappointed in that, and I know a lot of fans were. So that is why it is number 4 on worst things. Number 3, I put the death of Tier 2. And you can cue the Mark Twain quote about, death of something being greatly exaggerated, because I know that Tier 2 still exists. In fact, maybe even on the good list, there's a couple of things that are in Tier 2. But, I interviewed a player this year who had talked about why he was leaving, and there were tons of other statements from people who were like, yeah, there's just no path to pro in North America anymore. Last year, in 2023, we had all of the teams drop their Tier 2, except for 3 teams, and then one of those teams also left. This year, we've heard that the other remaining LTA orgs are dropping their Tier 2 in North America. And there's just a ton of players who have said that they don't feel like there's a path for them to go pro anymore. And even if they could, there are now less spots in LTA North for them to get, especially with the changes that were coming next year. And I know that there's promotion potentially and all that type of stuff, but I just feel like the path to becoming a pro player in North America is the hardest it's ever been, and is probably one of the hardest in any of the regions. And it's really disheartening to see, because I think that for players like JoJo, who we just talked about was leaving, but others that are really exciting, like Masu and I don't know, Jan, all these players that came from this region and we were really excited about and came out of Tier 2, and we had teams tell us that Tier 2 wouldn't do anything, and then these guys popped up. It's really disappointing. Number 2 on the list, giant summer gap is what I wrote. And I'm not talking about a Gap that is a pop-up store near you that sells clothing and is very large, like Costco sized, but is only there to sell summer stuff during the summer. I mean specifically the gap in the schedule during the summer, because I thought that it just killed all momentum. I saw it in my content, right? Where we were getting pretty good viewership on a lot of the stuff. It was feeling pretty good because summer usually has a pretty big drop off from spring. And then we took, what was it, like a month event basically off, right? And I know Riot will probably tell, Mark will do some video being like, no, if you look at a calendar, it's only 10 days. It's like a month long. It was at least 3 weeks, but it felt like a month. And that was for EWC and for probably Valorant or something, I don't know. And it just killed so much momentum. People were so excited about Summer Split, and we had all this trash talk, all these cool things that were happening, and then the split happened and everybody just, they didn't come back. A lot of people didn't come back from after that break, and it was really a bummer. So hopefully there's nothing like that this coming year. I know Riot is like, oh, we take a vacation on July 4th, and so we just take a random break. You know who doesn't do that? Literally every other fucking sport. They don't just be like, well, we've got a company vacation, so we're just gonna bail. So hopefully that doesn't happen this year. And then number one on my list of worst things to happen in 2024. And I've been thinking about this a lot over the last month, and I think when it first happened, I was probably would have put it kind of lower or maybe in the dishonorable mentions. But as time goes on, I just think that the worst thing to happen in 2024 is the death of the LCS. I don't even necessarily mean the way in which it is structured or whatever. I think you could have done basically everything you did in terms of announcements for 2025 and kept it the same. But I do think getting rid of the LCS brand is just not good. And I think it will have the longest ramifications of anything that is on this list, right? Like whatever, the storage closet, hopefully we're not there very much next year with Valorant going in there sometimes. Tier 2, hopefully we'll get some sort of recovery from like the promotion stuff that they talked about. But I think that for so many people, the LCS brand was synonymous with League of Legends esports. And we've lost a lot of those folks as fans, and trying to get them back, I think is going to be way more difficult when you have to explain the LTA as the name of the LCS, and now it's got other players in other parts of these two continents, but you don't actually need to really watch any of their games because they're only relevant at the end. Like, it's funny because all those things could have still been true, but if you had just said, just watch LCS, it plugs into this other Americas tournament now, it would be a lot easier to get those people to pay attention. And completely getting rid of the brand and changing everything to LTA North, even EU LCS and NA LCS was a more manageable moniker than LTA North. So I just really, really am not happy with that decision. I think it's gonna have a really damaging effect on people who are just familiar with the brand, and they're casual fans who are just like, oh, I wanna watch LCS. Well, I can't find the LCS Twitch channel or YouTube channel. Oh, what is LTA? Like, it's just, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. But there were good things that happened in 2024, and we will talk about this in another video. And so I'm not trying to end the year with all negativity, but those are the things that I thought were worst. And you know what else would be worse is if you didn't subscribe to this channel, or you didn't follow me on some social media channel or something, because then I'd have to add the death of TGI to 2024 bad things. Anyway, have a happy holiday on this happy note.